Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, in the AMP TV studio. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com, or give them a call, find out what's for dinner. 714-948-0100, 714-948-0100, again 714-948-0100 for UppercutChops.com. And welcome in everybody listening in on radio, watching on television, everybody streaming. Pick your favorite streaming platform. Also, a big welcome to our friends over on Facebook on Chicago Food Favorites. Folks, make sure you check out Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right, lots of baseball going on. Everybody's talking about the Juan Soto deal, and there's this guy's heating up, and there's a little bit of sentiment out there, and people are wondering, hey, you know, Ohtani had that injury, the second elbow surgery, which I believe was a Tommy John situation, but of course not confirmed, if you know what I mean. But now they're saying that Ohtani is unlikely to be ready to pitch for the Dodgers in the season opener in Japan. Oh boy. This was coming. I've been telling people about this, in my opinion. I don't think this guy is going to pitch, but maybe 2 more seasons at best. When you've had 2 elbow surgeries, yeah, your skill set may be a little compromised. I don't know. But they say, though it would be an incredible moment, Dodgers star Shohei Ohtani is unlikely to pitch for the Dodgers in his game in Japan to start next season. In fact, Dave Roberts, their manager, said that Ohtani is still recovering from elbow surgery he underwent at the end of his time with the Angels. Almost certainly won't be ready to pitch in LA's 2 games against the Cubs in Tokyo. That's according to The Athletic. Now, Ohtani is also recovering from shoulder surgery he underwent after the World Series to repair the torn labrum in his other shoulder. This guy's a mess. Mercy. So Ohtani is expected to be available as a hitter to start the season, and Roberts said the team will be nimble with Ohtani's workload and will come up with a plan to ramp him up so he can start pitching again. And what was interesting is they were saying that this guy maybe was going to be pitching in the World Series. Yeah, how did that one go? Anyway, he is expected to be available as a hitter to start the season again, but while the news might be disappointing for Ohtani fans in his home country, Roberts comments tracks with the team's plan for Ohtani to return to the mound during the 2025 season. I like how they say that because he was supposed to be ready to go at the start of the season. What kind of damage was really done? And he didn't pitch at all last season while recovering from the surgery to fix the UCL in his pitching arm. Okay, now the UCL, think about this, folks. When you have the Tommy John surgery thing, that's technically the ulnar nerve that runs through. It's like your funny bone. So you hit your elbow, you're like, oh, that hurts, but haha, it's kind of funny. Well, that's the Tommy John thing. That's the ulnar nerve. So this UCL here we have in the same area code, so to say, and they're saying, well, you didn't have another Tommy John. Okay, whatever. It's semantics at this point. But this guy, pitching-wise, is a little suspect. I don't care what his ERA and all this other crap was. It doesn't really matter. And they try to hype and say, well, you know, he had a 3.14 ERA, he went 10-5 in 23 starts with the Angels in 2023, just last season on the mound. Who gives a damn? Despite not pitching, the guy, he does hit fairly well, but he doesn't, in my opinion, he doesn't have the ability to really hit that high and inside pitch. And honestly, a steady diet of high and inside pitches, in my opinion, this guy wouldn't even hit his weight. It's the way he holds his bat, the way he has to extend out. And if you watch all these mechanics, it's hard to explain, folks. But what ends up happening when you take these guys that are not used to pulling their hands in and getting around on a pitch, this is where the problem is. And I say this as a former pitcher. I know I would give him a steady diet of high and inside pitches, and that would be the end of it. Seriously, I really don't see it going any other way. But then again, it seems like the league hasn't adjusted. And what's interesting is I had this talk with the Angels pregame, postgame commentary former manager, Bobby Valentine. And, Bobby wasn't very receptive to my feedback when I had him on the program talking about how to handle Ohtani at the plate. Because he said, oh, yeah, you and all the other pitchers are saying the same thing. Yeah, but guess what? Nobody is doing it. So think about this, folks. First of all, he's not going to be productive on the pitcher's mound for any time very, very soon. And then if you give him that steady diet of high and inside, it makes that $700 million contract look absolutely laughable. That's right. And so that $700 million contract seems to be a drop in the bucket compared to the lunacy, in my opinion, the complete lunacy that Mr. Cohen and the New York Mets dropping all that money on an above average hitter with a good eye. I'll give Juan Soto a good eye. And I have to say, folks, this, in my opinion, was the worst signing I've ever seen in professional sports history. And so, of course, USA Today and everybody else writes all kinds of wonderful things. And they say in this wonderful, handy-dandy little blurb, after years of elite production and amid career instability, Juan Soto has found his permanent home. That is thanks to a stupendous and record-setting contract commitment from the New York Metropolitans. Soto and the Mets agreed to a 15-year, $765 million contract. We'll let the booze play out. Yeah, the biggest in sports history and making Soto the highest paid player in baseball by almost every measure. A person with direct knowledge of the agreement confirmed to USA Today that Soto and the Mets did come to terms. A person spoke on conditions of anonymity because the deal wasn't finalized at the moment. Of course, it is now. Anyway, the total and current value of his contract, that of a two-way superstar, being Shohei Ohtani, who signed a heavily deferred 10-year, $700 million deal with the Dodgers a year ago. And Soto's $51 million AAV is a record for a baseball player, as it contains no deferred money. That's right, no deferred money. That is nuts. Think about that, folks. So you have to think of this. Let's do a little calculation. Let's just take the raw number of $765 million. Actually, we'll do it this way. We'll say this guy gets an average of 600 plate appearances, all right, per year. And we'll say hypothetically times 15 years, which actually is 9,000 plate appearances. And you take 765,000,000 divided by 9,000 plate appearances. This guy for 15 years is going to make $85,000 per at bat. Come on, that's ridiculous. 85 grand per at bat for 15 years, and that's no bonuses, no nothing. That's just the raw number. Try that one on for size. I mean, to me, that one just makes no sense, right? So let's do the other. Let's say Ohtani gets 600 at bats per year, and let's go to 6,000. All right, and we'll take $700 million, and then let's divide that by 6,000 at bats. Well, it looks to me like Ohtani's getting paid $116,666.67 per at bat. Who got the better deal? Seems like Ohtani did. But you have to ask yourself, who the hell is worth $85,000 per at bat? Oh, that's right. There's a guy by the name of Mike Trout. He's in the same area code as well, and he can't even stay healthy. This is crazy, folks. When you look at these contracts, you scratch your head and say, what in the world were they thinking about? And look, Soto's departure from the Yankees, actually, I think he did the Yankees a favor. Look, and they say, well, USA Today says, well, you know, it represents a big media stir and all this other crap, but a massive commitment from Steve Cohen, the owner of the New York Mets, ending his tenure in the Bronx after one season that culminated in a World Series appearance. He didn't do it by himself. Let me tell you something, folks. If this guy didn't have Aaron Judge to hit behind him, there's no way that this guy would even hit the numbers that he did. And he did not have a great year. In case you're keeping score, you take a look at what Juan Soto did last year and you say, well, you know, Juan Soto didn't have the best of the best year. He had 41 homers, 7 stolen bases. He had 289, whatever. And in fact, when we come back from break, we're going to compare him to some other free agents that are sitting out there. And if this guy's worth $85,000 per bat, do you think the Mets could have spent a little less money for just as good of a hitter? Back here in a few minutes on The Circus. Don't go anywhere.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC Sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at
714-948-0100. Again, 714-948-0100.
Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call
714-948-0100, 714-948-0100, again, 714-948-0100.
or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right, a big welcome back to everybody listening in on the radio, also on television, watching on our streaming platforms, watching on Hotel TV as well. Big thanks for joining us in all those markets across the United States in over 550,000 rooms from coast to coast. And, of course, a big hello to our friends over in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM, over in Auburn, Alabama, WAUD, home of the Atlanta Braves, over in Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500, KHKA, that's home of the Yankees, who we just talked about, home of the 49ers, and home of the Alabama Crimson Tide. And here we go. Back with baseball, talking about that Juan Soto deal. And not just Juan Soto, but we think about, for example, his wins above replacement. His wins above replacement, well, we look at his career, it's pretty good at 36.4. Last year it was only 7.9. All right, so let's put that into perspective a little bit. When you look at the wins above replacement, you start comparing him to some of these other players that are getting paid a lot of money. Well, look, first of all, Mike Trout's wins above replacement is for his career is 86.2. 86.2, which is over twice the value of Juan Soto. And that takes all kinds of calculations in, and it's basically a single number that represents the number of wins the player added to the team above what a replacement player would add. And it's a long, complicated math program to put the numbers together, but the reality is, you look at these contracts, you scratch your head and say, well, wait a minute. Mike Trout, if this guy was healthy, is arguably one of the top 3 baseball players, period. But he can't stay healthy. If you look at his career on what he's done, which I'm looking at it right now, you say, okay, well, how does this guy make essentially $64,000 per at bat, where Juan Soto is at $85,000 per at bat, whereas these are just the raw numbers, and then you take the Shohei Ohtani, $116,000 per at bat. I think that's what a lot of the players' information is missing, as I see it. When you look at what is the conversion per at bat, right? You figure these guys are going to have, I don't know, maybe 3.5 to 4 at bats per game. So in this case, Juan Soto is going to make, I don't know, $340,000 per game, per average game, which for 15 years, that's crazy. Where Ohtani is going to make just under $500,000 per game. Folks, per game. And so you ask, well, was there a better solution for the New York Mets? Because if you look at their lineup, with Pete Alonso, it may help. Because you'd have to look at it, this is according to lineups.com. They have it as Lindor leading off, Brandon Nimmo, who is a .224 hitter, as your 2-hole hitter. I don't know about that. On-base percentage, .327, not so good. Mark Vientos, a young hitter, 266 hitter on base, a little bit better at 322. Pete Alonso, number 3. Jesse Winker, number 4. Starling Marte, number 5. Tyrone Taylor, number 6. Jeff McNeil, number 7. And Francisco Alvarez, a pretty good catcher, hitting 9th, actually, in the lineup. I had McNeil 8th. But my point is, when you look at this lineup, and you look at their slugging percentage, you look at their on-base percentages, something tells me this lineup is doomed because, A, you're going to lose Pete Alonso, more than likely. And so you're going to replace Juan Soto as your cleanup hitter. Who the hell's going to hit behind him? Who is going to hit behind him? This is the problem. And even if, let's just say hypothetically, Alonso comes back, the polar bear comes back, and he takes over for, I don't know, somebody, let's say they move Tyrone Taylor out of the picture. I mean, the guy's not really that good of a hitter. He's 248 hitter at 11 stolen bases, caught stealing, in fact, twice. And he's hit 7 home runs. He only had 35 RBIs, and it was 344 plate appearances. That's quite a few. Those numbers should actually be better. But even if you ask yourself, what is this team missing? Oh, that's right. Aaron Judge was hitting about 300 and about 50, 60 home runs, whatever the hell it was. The point is, there's no way that Juan Soto is going to perform at the same level that he did with the New York Yankees. And so they'll be laughing over in the Bronx at what Juan Soto goaded them and his agent goaded the New York Mets into doing. And honestly, it was a really big mistake, as I see it, to let Pete Alonso go or to not bring him back or at least announce him back or something. I don't know. It makes no sense. You have to think of these possible landing spots for Juan Soto. But before we do that, we also think of the landing spots for other free agents. Let's do a side-by-side comparison. Let's take Juan Soto with Alex Bregman, Teoscar Hernandez, Jock Peterson, and Pete Alonso. So in the WAR category, the wins above replacement, Alex Bregman has a better wins above replacement career-wise than Juan Soto. Yeah, that's right. He has a better one. He has more plate appearances, 800 more plate appearances or 750 more, and he certainly has a lot more hits. He has 1,132 hits to the 934 Juan Soto has. Home runs, it's almost a dead heat, and he has a few more RBIs, whatever. But Alex Bregman is a guy that knows how to drive runs in. That's just what he does. You look at his batting average, it's not far off Juan Soto's. His stolen bases, it doesn't really matter. OPS plus is close. OPS, it's close. Slugging percentage is close. So remember, Alex Bregman has 2 World Series to Juan Soto's 1. They're both been All-Stars. And one batting title somehow belongs to Juan Soto. Not really sure how that happened. But the Gold Glove, which is a real liability Juan Soto is, in my opinion, out in the outfield, this is a real problem. Juan Soto is not a good fielder, and he doesn't have a strong arm, as I see it. So that's why the Gold Glove for Alex Bregman makes a little bit more sense. Silver Slugger, I don't care about because we talk about defense. Now let's compare Teoscar Hernandez to Juan Soto. Teoscar's WAR is a little bit less. His games played are almost a dead heat. Plate appearances are about 100 off. Hits are literally 6 off. And Teoscar Hernandez has 200 less at-bats. Home runs, 9 off, minus 200 at-bats. RBIs is 20 different. And, of course, there's 200 at-bats there. Stolen bases. There are 3 stolen bases in there with 200 less plate appearances. You see where I'm going with this, folks. Batting average, it goes career-wise to Juan Soto, 285 to 263. On-base percentage goes to Soto. Slugging percentage is very close. OPS is very close. OPS plus, very close. Teoscar with 2 World Series to Juan Soto's 1. 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-Star. Silver Slugger, 5-3. The point is, if you look at the money that Juan Soto just got, you say, well, wait a minute. Here's a cheaper alternative that just won, just coming off the World Series champion LA Dodgers, who just beat the New York Yankees and Juan Soto. But Teoscar Hernandez not only is well-traveled, but he's well-liked. And his numbers are very, very close to Juan Soto's. So if Juan just got $765 million, what in the world is Teoscar Hernandez going to get? What's Roki Sasaki going to get? We'll get to him later. The point is, you say, all right, well, Teoscar Hernandez is almost a dead heat value-wise for Juan Soto when you look at the numbers. Now, there are other alternatives too, and the other alternative is Jock Peterson. Yeah, you may laugh. I'm not laughing because Jock Peterson certainly has played more games. And when you look at him and Juan Soto, you say, okay, let's look at a real simple plate appearance situation where you've got Juan Soto has 4,088 plate appearances to Jock Peterson's 4,305. Well, the rest of the numbers aren't that off because think about this. You've got the hits are very close. The home runs favor Peterson. The RBIs are very close. Stolen bases are 2-1 in Juan Soto's favor, and he's not a base stealer. Batting average is a little bit higher for Soto. On-base percentage a little bit higher. Slugging percentage is pretty close. OPS is pretty close. So I have to say, here's another alternative. It's just that Juan Soto has a better eye, as one of the best eyes in the business, and we'll give him that. But what's he going to do on a team when he doesn't really have anybody to hit behind him? He's going to see a lot tougher pitches with the Mets that he did with the Yankees because nobody wanted to pitch to Aaron Judge, arguably the most feared hitter in Major League Baseball. Nobody wants to face Aaron Judge, and so it was really let's go ahead and let's try to pitch around this guy to pitch around this guy, right? And then they had Giancarlo Stanton behind him to hit home runs. So the best case scenario for Juan Soto as a hitter was with the New York Yankees. I think the worst case scenario hitter or situation for him is with the New York Mets, and there's a lot of reasons for it. We don't have time for that. Back here with free agency in baseball as we continue on the Sports Circus. Don't go anywhere. I'm your ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time. That's 800-950-2049.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure you check out thesportscircus.com for upcoming guests, prior guests, recorded shows that can be found on all podcast platforms, including Apple, Amazon, Audible, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and a bunch of others. Also, while you're at thesportscircus.com, make sure you check out the store. That's across the top. There's a little tab there. It says store. Check that out for some great Christmas ideas and some items for yourself. Maybe some knit hats or sweaters or sweatpants or hoodies or whatnot. Coffee mugs, travel mugs, you name it. They're all there at thesportscircus.com. Just click on store. A nice shameless plug for the Sports Circus. All right. Welcome back to everybody. TV, radio, streaming. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Folks, make sure you check that out. So, carrying on with the guy that's going to hit behind Juan Soto to make that contract worth, I don't know, worth a fraction of what they believe it's worth. How about this? You know, Pete Alonso was there. I don't know if Pete's going to come back. I really don't think so, but it doesn't really matter. It's going to take a hell of a lot more than that. I would offer another alternative. And that alternative, rather than Pete Alonso, is Nick Castellanos. So Nick, here's an interesting situation. So he is looking for a new club. The Phillies aren't going to re-sign this guy, and he's out there hunting to see what's out there. Now let's compare these two, being Alonso and Nick, side by side. And let's see really what they look like. Their wins above replacement are actually quite close, 19.8 to 14.9. Pretty good stuff. Now, Nick Castellanos has played in nearly double the amount of games, too. And he's maintained that wins above replacement. That's pretty exciting. Plate appearances, obviously, is going to be a big difference. Hits, well, let's face it. We look at the plate appearances of 36.07 versus 63.61, and that's less than 2-1, but it's getting close to it. When you look at the hits, it's over 2-1 in Nick Castellanos' favor. Total home runs, we're going to give that one to Pete Alonso with his Titanic blast. RBIs are markedly higher for Nick Castellanos, 586 to 848. Yes, he has a lot more plate appearances, but he's been productive over many years. And the same thing goes even for stolen bases. So this guy gets on base, and he does steal bases too. His batting average over 6,361 at bats is 274 versus Pete Alonso is only 249. Right? There's some real value to be had there. And then you ask yourself, well, wait a minute. The OBP, right, the on-base percentage, it's 339 to 323, very, very close. Slugging percentage, very close, 514 to 470. And the OPS, 854 to 793. And the OPS plus, 134 to 112. Why is this significant? Well, it's significant because over a longer career, Nick Castellanos has had a better stabilized career than Pete Alonso. And it seems to me that Nick Castellanos is probably a nice replacement for Pete Alonso to protect Juan Soto. What do you think about that, folks? So as I see it, this is real. And you say, well, why are we having this discussion? Because Pete Alonso could protect Juan Soto, but remember, he strikes out quite a bit. He does. And he's had 822 strikeouts in his brief career. Out of the 3,607 plate appearances, this guy has struck out about 20, we'll say about 19% of the time, something like that. Whereas Nick Castellanos has struck out, well, probably about the same, maybe about the same. But the productivity is significantly higher with Nick Castellanos. And we compare them from value, right? So we have, of course, the wins above replacement, which we talked about, but the wins above average for position players, and that is actually in favor of Pete Alonso. So when we look at these, trying to find something that works for Pete Alonso, it's hard because as we look at the sabermetrics, we look at the actual time on base, and that actually Nick Castellanos is going at a much better rate. And a time on base, of course, with the ROE, and that again is Nick Castellanos by a long shot. And the total outs made, the conversion, Pete Alonso's made more outs, put it that way. And the runs created, Nick Castellanos has created 329 more runs than Pete Alonso. Yeah, these are real issues. These are the sabermetrics, folks. So as we look at some of these, some of these metrics, you say, well, why would the New York Mets do X, Y, or Z? Look, first of all, it's kind of like the cart before the horse. The Mets went and took this contract away from the Yankees, which I think is complete lunacy, because you've got to secure your cleanup hitter and the guy to hit behind your three-hole hitter, your proposed three-hole hitter anyway. That's why I'm telling you this, and I can say this as a former ball player. It just makes me scratch my head and say, well, why are they doing this? I mean, look, we think about all the other guys that are sitting out there in free agency, and we say, okay, outside of Soto, the best pitcher, which I told you we'd get back to, is Roki Sasaki. This is apparently the best free agent pitcher. And of course, he's been well known in Japan since his high school days, as it becomes very clear at an early age that this righty possesses as much physical talent on the mound as practically any pitching prospect in history, and not just in Japan. Now, once upon a time, folks, the Japanese Baseball League wasn't given the eyeballs that it was given today, but a few of the players that have come over have done really big things, but not all of them. Remember, people are not fighting to get into the Japanese Baseball League. They're fighting to get into Major League Baseball. And so the Japanese players and the league historically, unofficially, has been looked at sort of like a developmental farm league, so to say, for Major League Baseball. And a few guys that have come over that have been standouts. Nomo came over. He was one of those guys. Hideki Matsui did as well. And, of course, Ichiro came over, and very, very, very good player. And we've had a few others that were really good too, plus, of course, Ohtani. But now it seems like everybody that comes over is getting jumbo contracts because they're overpaying, being the ownership, is overpaying for these Japanese Baseball League players. Is Sasaki one of those? I don't know. I mean, so he hit triple digits as a teenager before turning pro and has since developed two sensational secondary offerings in a vicious splitter. Of course, this according to Yahoo, not my words. And a sharp slider to complement his ferocious fastball. Whatever. Look, a fastball is a fastball. At the end of the day, it's the hardest thing to hit. But then again, if it has movement, it's really hard to hit. So if you throw a two-seam fastball, that's a mover. And that is a hell of a lot harder to hit. I threw a rising fastball and a two-seamer. It's very, very difficult to hit. And so I don't care if you throw 110. If you throw 110, if it's straight, if it's a four-seam fastball, it's easy to dial it up against that pitch and hit it a country mile. But you've got to have movement. You've got to change speeds. And of course, they say, although he has not amassed nearly as much workload as the majority of the Japanese stars who's made the jump to Major League Baseball, Sasaki has thrown 394, we'll call it 395 innings across 4 seasons, which really isn't much. You're talking about this guy's throwing 100 innings, less than 100 innings per season. That's not much at all in the Nippon Baseball League, right? That's the NPB, the Japanese Baseball League. Anyway, his unparalleled ability, is what they say, has been fully on display for several occasions. Okay, and that's great. He is an unproven commodity in the grand scheme of things. So he turned 23 last month, and he gets signed for a capped amount, just like Ohtani did, ranging between $5 and $7 million, but there will be like a ton of bonuses and all this other garbage, making this guy a bunch of money. As an alternative, frankly, I see Corbin Burns as the best pitcher available now. with about 200 innings pitched, ERA under 3, 2.92, whip of 1.1. That's walks and hits per innings pitched. 181 strikeouts, so it's just under 1 strikeout per inning, only against 48 walks. That's pretty damn good. And who else is out there? Alex Bregman. We talked about Alex Bregman. Alex, there's a lot of choices for this guy. He's a very, very good third baseman, and this guy's going to make a lot of money in his next contract for sure. Willy Adames already signed with the San Francisco Giants. Willy Adames signed a crazy contract, which I don't even understand. But then again, it's not for me to understand. Blake Snell signed with the Dodgers. Another ridiculous contract, 5-year, $182 million. Blake's good, but not a lot of innings pitched. Max Fried is sitting out there. I think he's a very underrated starting pitcher. And this guy is out there, 174 innings, ERA of 3.25, whip of 1.16, 166 strikeouts, 57 walks. Max Fried is a very good pickup for one club. There's the Pete Alonso sitting out there. I think Pete's going to command a bunch of money, but I don't know. I'd rather take Teoscar Hernandez, who's also available too. Christian Walker flying under the radar with just as good stats as those guys. Anthony Santander with his 44 homers last season. He's going to sign somewhere, and I think the Red Sox may pick him up. Jack Flaherty, who knows what's going to happen with Jack. Jack had 194 strikeouts and 162 innings pitched. Jack is a good one. And, of course, Luis Severino, we already saw him sign with the Oakland A's on the big deal. And then Sean Manaea is out there, and Sean had a revival, 182 innings pitched with a whip of 1.08, 184 strikeouts. Sean had a very good bounce-back year. And then moving on, there's Profar. Jurickson Profar hit 280, 24 homers, and this guy was near the top of the batting race all season. Profar is going to be one of those guys. A lot of teams are going to want him. Tell you what, we're going to be back here in just a few minutes on the Sports Circus. More baseball, maybe into basketball afterwards. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi Code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
Do a search on how to get out of credit card debt, and you'll find everything from crazy promises to ways you can try to do it yourself. Many of those ideas just don't work, and they leave you broker than you were. Here's some advice. Call our debt helpline. In a quick and free 5-minute conversation, our experts will listen to you and learn about how much credit card debt you have, what your goals are, and then show you the right solution to help you get out of credit card debt with one new simple, affordable payment. The credit card companies make available special programs to help if you're struggling. All it takes for you to finally get out of credit card debt is one quick, free phone call. So please call right now.
800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. 800-948-6817. That's 800-948-6817. Paid for by the Debt Helpline.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at Al's Number One Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Check them out, folks, for some great food, great Italian beef sandwich. The creators of the Italian beef sandwich. In fact, if you can't get down there, check them out at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. If you happen not to know what the Italian beef sandwich is, they are the creators of it. There's a nice bit of history on there. 1938 is when they opened their doors. Check them out again at alsbeef.com. Yes! All right, welcome back to everybody on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates from coast to coast. Everybody listening in over in Atlanta at WDJY, thanks for joining us, as well as everybody over in Auburn, Alabama on the Atlanta Braves Radio Network, WAUD, plus the New York Yankees Radio Network over in Honolulu, CBS Sports 1500, talking about baseball free agency. And we left off with Jurickson Profar. And, we got off to a pretty slow start in his career. But, man, this guy has really turned it on. Just a happy guy from the country of Curacao. He's just one of those guys that's a great value. Hit 280 with 564 at-bats last season. 24 homers, 10 stolen bases. And he's capable of a lot more. Unfortunately, there are a lot of options out there, but Jurickson Profar happens to be one of those guys that is a good value for the right team, if you know what I mean. We'll give him a nice round of applause. All right. We like him. In fact, I had him on my fantasy baseball team. He did very well for me. Another guy that's sitting out there is Gleyber Torres, and the Yankees really don't seem to put a lot of value on this guy. He's just a decent second baseman. And, he's going to help a couple of teams. I know the Red Sox and the Blue Jays are looking at him, but I don't know. I actually think he's probably a better fit elsewhere, maybe in a team that's in transition. Maybe Miami might not be a bad spot for him. And I'm a little befuddled at the Angels with their signings. And here's another one with Yusei Kikuchi. And he got a 3-year deal from the Angels. Never mind the money. Who gives a damn? I mean, he does the 8 innings. And I don't know. He had 175 innings pitched last season. He's better than what he displays. It seems like when players or free agents come to Southern California to play in Anaheim, they don't really excel. And this is not me. Look, historically, they just don't seem to do that well historically. I mean, there's been a few standouts. I mean, obviously, we've had some good ones. Nolan Ryan did pretty well, right? And, I wouldn't say Albert Pujols did well because Pujols everything dropped off when he got there. And the same thing happened with Josh Hamilton and this one and that one and Mo Vaughn and turned into Mo Money and all this other crap. But end of day, it just seems like Kikuchi is probably headed for a similar situation. I don't see anything good coming out of it. Nothing. And so what are they trying to achieve over there? I think they're just trying to plug the dam. And I'm not blaming Perry Manassian. I'm blaming Artie Moreno. Artie needs to let the reins go a little bit and give Perry a little bit more slack and spending and whatnot, because Perry can only do what Perry can do. You can't blame him. Now, his brother, Perry's brother, Zach Jr., is up in San Francisco, and they're giving him the ability to make some deals. And, Zach Sr. is a friend of the Sports Circus, and, of course, Zach's a cool guy. In fact, Zach wrote a book It's called Lasorda University. Check that out at lasordauniversity.com. That's also on our partners page at the Sports Circus. A shameless plug for a fun book for Zach Manassian. Anyway, moving on. Nate Eovaldi is sitting out there. And I don't understand why anybody hasn't gobbled this guy up. Man, Nate Eovaldi is a strikeout machine. He doesn't walk many people. And he didn't have a great year last year, but the guy is good. I don't understand why people or teams wouldn't even be lining up to sign this guy. He's one of those pitchers that's the anchor of a rotation, and especially one that needs to eat innings. He goes deep into games. Again, I had him on my fantasy baseball team, and I watched this guy very, very closely. Plus, I watched a lot of games he pitched anyway. Nate Eovaldi is a winner. Man, this guy is good and severely undervalued at number 18 on this alleged depth chart for free agents. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Now, Nick Martinez is another pitcher that's sitting out there, a righty for the Cincinnati Reds, and his numbers are pretty solid as well. Walks to strikeouts is very impressive. 116 strikeouts to 18 walks over 142 innings pitched. So this guy is a contact pitcher. In case you don't know what that means, he pitches to contact. He forces you to hit the ball. He'll throw the ball in the strike zone and say, okay, I got 7 guys behind me that are going to stop that ball. And so Nick Martinez, a very good value for another team. Oh, that's right. Nope, he's going to stay with the Reds, and that's going to only be a 1-year deal. It's a qualifying offer, $21.05 million. So, of course, show me the money! Even comes into play with guys like him. Moving on, you have Ha-Seong Kim, the shortstop from the San Diego Padres. I don't really see the value there. I don't see this guy being a great acquisition. We're moving on. Tyler O'Neill, the outfielder for the Orioles, and he agreed on a 3-year deal, so he's not going anywhere. He does hit home runs. The Orioles have a good young core. They're going to be good for a long time. How about Tanner Scott, that righty for the San Diego Padres? Now, Tanner Scott's not a bad one. When you look at his numbers, they're above average. They're not great, but his ERA is pretty darn good. And so as a relief pitcher, allegedly, this is the best relief pitcher available. So who needs a relief pitcher? Oh, that's right. The Dodgers need one. And who else need one? I would argue that a bunch of teams need them. Maybe even the Kansas City Royals. So Walker Buehler's sitting out there too. And Walker coming off of a injury. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with this guy? Walker, before his injury, this guy was one of the best in the business. So, well, his deep arsenal and velocity have largely returned to where they were in 2021. Walker has battled some serious issues with his command and mechanics, but that's something that a pitching coach can fix. You got a good pitching coach on your team, they can fix this kid. Walker Buehler is good, and I'd like to see him go to the Atlanta Braves. Shane Bieber sitting out there. Oh, no, he isn't, because he was on the list, but now he's actually off the list, and the Cleveland Guardians give him a 1-year deal just to see what happens, and then there's an option for the following season as well. Jeff Hoffman, another pitcher, a reliever that's sitting out there. Look, I got to tell you, Philadelphia has all the boxes checked except for pitching, the relief pitching nonetheless. Starting pitching's fine. These guys are in big, big trouble. I don't really understand what they're doing over there, but they better fix it, because I don't care whether it's this reliever or that reliever, they don't have an answer. Nick Pavetta's sitting out there. A solid starting pitcher, and he eats innings, good walks to strikeouts ratio. And look, this guy has thrown at least 200 innings over the past couple of seasons or so, but yet he only had 145 last season. So I wonder what's going on with this guy. He's 32 years of age, maybe hit that magical number. Now, we mentioned Jock Peterson available, and I think he is a viable option for a lot of teams. And somehow this guy just seems to keep producing. He's not doing it at a record-setting pace, but he gets the hits when they matter. That's the thing about Jock Peterson. I like him because he is a gamer. Now, another relief pitcher sitting out there that was, anyway, he still is actually, is Carlos Estevez. I don't know if I think the Phillies may re-sign this guy. I don't know, but he's had his issues. Clay Holmes re-signed, of course. Actually, better yet, he is signed with the New York Mets along with Juan Soto coming over from the Yankees on a 3-year, $38 million deal. Danny Jansen, a good catcher, sitting out there. Not really a good batting average, but he's a solid catcher. He's out there. Who needs him? I don't know. Randall Grichuk, a decent outfielder with a good batting average, hitting .291. He's out there from Arizona. They'll probably re-sign him. Michael Conforto and the Dodgers reportedly agreed to a one-year deal, so he's off the list from the San Francisco Giants. Alex Verdugo, that guy is sitting out there at 29 years of age with very mediocre numbers, along with Max Kepler and Matthew Boyd from the Cubs. He actually signed a 2-year deal. Jose Quintana, somehow this guy is still around. He's 36, but he's still doing it. His numbers are solid. I think the Mets are going to let him go. They're not going to re-sign him. So Treinen actually got himself a 2-year deal with the LA Dodgers, and that's Blake Treinen. His numbers were decent. Kirby Yates, he's sitting out there as a relief pitcher, but he's getting up there in age. Even though his whip is good, his ERA is good, I think he's seen better days. Goldie is out there. Paul Goldschmidt is out there, and it seems like the Mets have a little bit of interest in him. He only hit .245 last year, whereas the year before, I think he led Major League Baseball, or most of Major League Baseball, most of the year anyway. And so Paul Goldschmidt still has a lot left in the tank, even though he's 37. Carlos Santana's 39, not much left in the tank there. Justin Turner at 40, more in the tank than the other guys, believe it or not. Scherzer's out there with a very questionable ability now. And even Justin Verlander at 42, same kind of situation. Not really sure. There's a few other guys. Polanco at 31 years of age, a second baseman. He has really hit the skids along with Josh Bell. Jesse Winker is available. I don't know if I would re-sign that guy if I was the New York Mets. Andrew Heaney, forget it. Forget it. Andrew Heaney just, in my opinion, he should just retire. He can't seem to win baseball games. Somehow he lets the teams in on their second round at bat. Now, Kenley Jansen, he is available still, but he's up there. I mean, come on, he's 37. How much is left in the tank? Frankie Montas, got the same situation. I don't know. There's a lot of guys that are sitting out there, and you ask yourself, where's the money best spent? Well, it may not be in free agents because it may be right there in their farm system. And you take teams that are out there hunting right now, and you say, well, who's got the good farm system? The Oakland A's historically have a good farm system. The Minnesota Twins historically have a good farm system. The White Sox have a very good farm system, and they're loaded. That's why everybody wants to make deals with them. And I would also argue the Kansas City Royals have a very good farm system. Teams that don't, well, and we'll even give it to the Cubs. The teams that don't have a great farm system historically, as I've seen, I would argue maybe outside of a few standout players here and there, the Seattle Mariners farm system is not that good. That's why they always seem to be making deals. And the New York Yankees, what they do, and what they seem to do anyway, is they develop a player, they sell the player when they're still in the farm system, and if they turn out to be good players, then they buy him back. I mean, it's crazy. And people say, well, you know, it's worked for them. They have 27 World Series. Yeah, they do, but they haven't won one in quite some time. And how's that model working under Hal Steinbrenner? Under George Steinbrenner, it seemed to work pretty well. So I'm not so sure, but the Yankees are only a piece or two away from getting right back to where they were. And I don't think that they're going to have Giancarlo Stanton on the club next season. It's just my opinion. I think he's going to be allowed to walk. Anyway, folks, that's going to do it for the circus today. I'm your ringmaster, Sal, and we'll see you next time right here on your favorite station. Until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA. the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.